Hello, Math Studies students. 21C2, General Rates of Change. So in the last section, we just talked about functions and the derivatives. So now your functions can be anything that might have some kind of change. So for example, some of the homework problems you're going to do are going to deal with C of x, which stands for the cost of manufacturing x goods. Okay, so dc over dx, or c prime of x, is the derivative of this function c of x, which is the change in the cost with respect to the items produced. So this gives you the cost function for the item, and this is how it's changing. Like, so for example, the slope, right? How is it changing? Is it getting more expensive to produce them or less expensive? Okay, so let's look at one of the first examples. Okay, so the cost of producing X items in a factory is written by this equation. Okay, this is the example in the book on page 597. Okay, now if I want to find the derivative, well, we know we bring the 3 to the front and multiply it by the 13. Bring the 2 to the front and multiply it by the 0.002, and this just becomes 5, and that goes away, right? So if I plug in, so this is the change of the cost per item, how it's changing. Okay, if I want to find out what the derivative is at 150 items produced, this is then I would just plug in 150 into the derivative formula. And this would say, okay, so 6.18. This is how much it's changing to make this item. It's increasingly costing more to produce 150. Okay, so the first derivative at 150 is the rate at which the cost increases. Now, what if I plug in 150 into the original function? Well, if I plug in 150 into the original function, we place 150 here, 150 cubed is this, 150 squared is this, 150. So basically by replacing x with 150, cubing it, squaring it, and just having 150, we end up with 3,431.75. Now this is the cost of making 150 items, whereas this value here, when you plug it into the derivative, is the amount change, how it's changing at that value. Okay? All right, good luck with the homework assignment.